Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM19 story, part of the furniture with me, Daniel. It's season 8, episode 3, and today we continue our championship season with a game against fellow lower mid-table strugglers Huddersfield, currently managed by Eddie Howe, as we continue our string of top Premier League managers that have worked their way down into the lower ends of the championship in this game. But we're in 15th place after 18 games, and we come back here in fairly decent shape with a good start to the season both on and off the pitch. So if we go and have a look at the results since you were last with me, we've played quite a few games again. We were here last for that 6-1 drubbing against Crystal Palace, the game where it all went wrong. We dissected, we tweaked a couple of little tactical instructions, and then more importantly just did a training plan for set pieces nearly all week, defended them brilliantly since again, apart from one game against Hull City. But we're back to a slightly more traditional route now, which is getting points at home and then losing away. But either way, as long as we get the points on the board to be comfortably safe, I don't care how we do it. So we won 3-1 at Bradford in the immediate aftermath of that huge 6-1 defeat. Crawford, Lewis and Reece Williams all with the goals before a late consolation for Bradford. We then won 2-0 on the Tuesday night away against QPR. Robson Brown and Jordan Stevens with those goals as Nico Williams picked up a knock. That meant at the weekend that Richard Quirk started at right wing back. He did okay, but we drew 3-3. Broja with a brace and Bobby Duncan got one, but a late show from Brighton got the equaliser in the 89th minute. We then had back-to-back defeats on the road, unfortunately. 2-1 away against Brentford, again an 89th minute winner against us, and then a 4-2 defeat at Hull, where we really looked completely off the pace. It was a second game in 3 days, and unfortunately we sort of wilted towards the end again, after getting level on the 64-minute mark, but 2 goals after that, one very quickly after and one in stoppage time, wrapped up a comfortable 3 points for Hull. However, since then we've gone 3 games unbeaten, and picked up a couple of wins as well. Really impressive performance at home to Middlesbrough. We won that one 3-1 with 2 late goals. Adam Lewis scored the first before 2 late goals from McDonald and Broja wrapped up a comfortable win there. And then we drew 0-0 at home to Sheffield United, a good side with a far bigger budget, and again we got a couple of the youngsters on in that one. And then away to Ipswich we won 3-0. We brought on all 3 young strikers as we were already well ahead in that one. We had to rotate a bit as a few of the lads were knackered from the United game. And although Richard Quirk was starting and we bought the others off as we mentioned, we still got a comfortable win despite Broja missing a penalty to wrap up a hat-trick. But we go into this one completely full of confidence. You may remember we were planning to show that Ipswich one on camera, but they were bottom and cut adrift. You can see they're only on 10 points after 18 games, so it seemed pointless showing that as it was one of the few guaranteed wins of the season. I know that would make me look a better manager, but we want to see games that are going to be really competitive, and this Huddersfield one should be exactly that. They're 6 points behind us with a game in hand, so win today and win their spare game, they could be level on points with us, and if they win by enough, they could be ahead on goal difference. It's a really good table for us though. We're still only 4 points off the playoffs despite being 9 places away, but perhaps more importantly, we've got a 9-point gap all the way down to the relegation zone with a few teams struggling around there. Leeds are starting to get cut adrift as well, which is a little bit worrying for them, but for us we're just focused on Torquay. We've got 2 players in the leading charts, so Duncan's the second top goal scorer with 10 and Adam Lewis has the joint most assists with 8. He's also got the second highest average rating behind Watson, who got a couple of assists against us in the last episode. But things are looking really good. I couldn't be much happier with where we are, and we're going to get into today's game hoping that we can do something special. However, before we do that, I want to quickly show you the mentoring groups we've got set up. It's something I do every couple of years when we have youngsters around, and obviously after the youth intake last year and some of the youngsters we've brought into the club, it's become an increasingly important part of our training during this season. So let's have a look at the first mentoring group. So focus on defensive areas. We've got Johnny Byrne in there as the professional leader. The likes of Lewis and Marco are in there too. We're just trying to get Zuniga and Marco with slightly better personalities, and hopefully the significant influence of Johnny Byrne will be able to help us out with that. In terms of attacking positions, we've got all 3 of the youngsters in a group with Duncan and Broja. It's just the 5 strikers at the club. The first 2 happen to be fairly professional and have a decent influence due to their highly influential status in the squad hierarchy, whereas the young 3 are just other players. They're all balanced and we're trying to edge them up slowly. Once they've done that, we can then start to put them in stronger groups. But that's what we're looking at for now. Just just trying to help the ones out that are here, although of course we haven't got too many experienced players, so it does make it hard to mentor lots of youngsters. But nevertheless, we're going to get into today's game. We're playing away against 18th placed Huddersfield. It's all to play for down there. A couple of wins and we could be up towards the playoffs. A couple of defeats and we may have to panic in January. So it's all about keeping on an even keel and making sure we still get points on the board. And let's see if we can do that as we look at today's lineup. We're very much the underdogs for this game. We've got a few players out, but they're largely backup ones. Jordan Stevens had been starting for us. He's picked up a hernia and has been out for a while. Richard Quirk, the youngster's not quite fit yet. Neither's Zaniga, but he wouldn't have been in the squad anyway. Curtis Anderson, the goalkeeper's injured for Huddersfield. We actually tried to sign him in the summer. He was available on a transfer for around 100,000 from Burnley and would have been an excellent backup or rotation option, but unfortunately he rejected us for Huddersfield. Daniel James, is that the Swansea winger who's been causing chaos for City in real life? It is indeed. He was absolutely fantastic in the FA Cup quarter final in real life at the weekend, but unfortunately we're not going to get to see him in this universe today. So let's look at the lineup. We played a game last week and we did really well, so I don't want to make too many changes. It means we've got Alex Bass in goal, Brown, Baldock and Reece Williams are the three centre-halves, Nico Williams is over at right wing-back, Adam Lewis on the left, Mapley and Rowan McDonald, who's been covering in central midfield, with David Crawford behind Armando Broja and Bobby Duncan up front. We have got Richard Quirk on the bench at the minute, just because we don't really have many other options. We could put Johnny Byrne on there, but then we wouldn't have any right-sided players. So we're going to stick with this one for today. We've still got those three youngsters on the bench, and the likes of Marco, Eamon McCabe and Ricky Ash if we need a bit more quality. David Crawford's been dropped from the Northern Ireland squad, as he hasn't been playing too well for us, but he's still wanted by Reading, and he's had interest from a couple of other clubs too. But his rating this season's just a 6.8, only 1 goal and 2 assists in 13 games, and he's not been quite as strong and consistent as last year. But let's get back to the lineup and into the game and see if we can get a crucial result against Huddersfield. Okay, it's the usual 4-2-3-1 for Huddersfield, but they're playing with defensive midfielders instead, and we've got a few players that we recognise from our head coach series. They've got Scully in the holding role. He's been playing for us at Barnsley in the other series, and then Congolo, who's currently with us at Newcastle. He's a player we recognise as well. They're both playing for Huddersfield in this universe, so a couple of names we recognise, even if it's not from this series. They've still got the likes of Steve Mooney up front, who's there in real life and a good striker, so they're certainly going to be a challenge today. We've just got to see if we can exploit their weaknesses. Hopefully our new assistant manager's got some instructions set up for them, and we're just going to tell the lads to pick up where they left off, where they won 3-0 away at Ipswich. 15 minutes gone, we're yet to see a meaningful highlight, though I'm sure that will change now as Mapley plays a 1-2 with Baldock. McDonald into Crawford in the middle. He finds Bobby Duncan, who's in fantastic form as we've seen. Out to Adam Lewis on the left, who set most of his goals up, but this time he puts it in for Broja, who heads it straight at the keeper. I say Bobby Duncan's been in great form with 10 goals. Broja's got 9 himself, so we can't count him out either, but I'll stop getting distracted now and get back to the action. Reece Williams wins a front post header from the corner, and it's off the line. It had beaten the keeper, but the centre-half does brilliantly and clears it away from the near post region. 25 minutes gone, it's goalless, and now Huddersfield have got the corner. Walks has tried to get on the end of it, but it's headed away. As far as Murphy, and now Clancy. Out to Mooney on the left-hand side. Cuts in and switches it. It's out to Jack, the right wing-back. He's going to try and deliver for them. Baldock heads away, but only to the edge. Clancy shoots, it takes a deflection, and manages to beat Alex Bass. He'd already dived past it, and it went in the opposite direction after the defender's touch. It was on target, so it's Clancy's goal. Jack with an in-swinging corner again. Brown knocks it down as far as Walks. It's a brilliant save by Bass, but we are very much under the cosh here. 9 corners now for Huddersfield, and we're going to do very well to defend them all game. It's gone back to Murphy, who shoots over the bar. We're delighted they didn't put that one in the box, as they'd been causing chaos. 2 minutes to the break. It's a free kick on the left for them. Murphy on the edge of the box shoots, puts it wide at the post, and we're going to go into the break 1-0 down, despite the fact we've been completely outplayed since the goal. Duncan crosses for Broja though. I spoke too soon. We're back on level terms. I don't know how. Out of nowhere, a simple throw-in routine. Lewis took it short again, which I was about to complain about, but it went straight to Duncan. He puts it across the box for Broja, and he was an absolute poacher in the 6-yard box to put us on level terms on the stroke of half time. A great time to score, and hopefully we can take advantage in the second half. Let's go and talk to the lads, tell them we appreciate their efforts. They've been working hard, but we're just up against the better side. What Huddersfield are doing down in the bottom half, I don't know. Let's see if we can do anything to stop them in the second half. In we go then, it's our kick-off with Broja. He finds Crawford. Back to Baldock, the middle of the centre halves. They're splitting now, so we've got options to pass it to. Mapley, the playmaker, finds Reece Williams, but the highlight ends with no damage, as is often the case at the start of the half. 5 minutes into the second half now though. Walks with a long clearance as we've got the territorial advantage. Out to Nico Williams on the right. He finds Crawford, plays a 1-2. Back inside again is it. Crawford's got McDonald inside. He's got three options. Goes left to Lewis, the wing-back. He delivers to Duncan at the front post, but his header hits the side netting. Couldn't quite get enough curl on it, and as a result it went wide of the post. Certainly had the keeper scrambling though, just as that one did from Josh Murphy. With 2-1 behind, it's an absolute screamer. We know Josh Murphy's got a reputation for that, but it doesn't make it any easier to handle. A wonderful goal, and with an hour gone, we trail 2-1 on the road. Just 15 minutes left. It looks like Huddersfield have nullified any threat we've got, but we're going to make a couple of changes. Crawford's had a really poor game again. Ricky Ash will be on for him. Mapley's had a poor game, which is quite rare actually. We're going to bring on Stephen McComb there, put McDonald into the deep lying role, and McComb will be a central midfielder on attack. And the other one should really be Nico Williams. Although it's a position we haven't got a great sub. We're going to bring Richard Quirk on, are we? I'm not so sure about that. We're going to leave it for now. We'll give it 5 more minutes and then we'll make the change if need be. I don't want to risk an injury to Quirk, and I don't see how that gives us a better chance of winning. Right, we're at the 80-minute mark now. Nothing's improved, so it will be Williams off, Quirk on. Quirk started in that win against Ipswich. I think it was one of the only changes, so we're going to have to be careful now and see if he can get us back into the game. Adam Lewis with an in-swinging corner. Broja forces the header. I thought it had been saved brilliantly, but it looked like it had just hit the woodwork as a goal kick's given. Long ball downfield from the Huddersfield keeper. Reece Williams brings it down for Ash. He comes down the left-hand side, but he's challenged easily, trying to go solo, and it didn't really work. We're going to go attacking in a minute if we're still a goal behind, as we really want to try and get a point out of the game. We don't want to invite teams closer to us. The less teams between us and the relegation zone, the more panicking we'll do if we lose a few games. It's a corner for Huddersfield though. We've got to see this one out first. Clancy with the in-swinging delivery. Goes short again to Murphy, who scored a brilliant goal earlier in the half. He finds Clark. Murphy again on the left and it deflects behind. We're going to go attacking now. Demand more from the lads, and fingers crossed they can get forward and create just one more chance. It's a free kick on the left. We're into 3 minutes of stoppage time. McDonald at the back post. Oh, he's put it wide. It was a great chance, but it looks like that's going to be it. 3 minutes of stoppage time are up. Lewis delivers again. Mooney clears away. And that is the full-time whistle. A hard-fought display from the lads, but we were beaten by a screamer after withstanding a load of dominance from Huddersfield in the first half. We're going to tell the lads we're pleased with the performance. They're happy with that. Huddersfield are never going to finish down in the bottom third of the league. They're really in a poor false position at the moment. The FA Cup's still going on. It was first round weekend, so everyone's getting involved there. I'm not sure if Blackpool are still in it. I'm still surprised about that from the last episode. But let's look at what was said about the game. They grab a deserved win. Well, it was just about deserved. We really came back into it in the second half, but you can't argue with a goal like that to win a game. A really good finish by Murphy, and we're unfortunate to lose out in the end. We're still 15th in the league. If we go back and look at the table, thanks to other results, we've still got that 9-point gap, although a few of the teams above Preston have picked up results, including Northampton, who were in 22nd at the start of play. There's a few sides down there who I think are worse than us, so hopefully we'll be able to sustain a comfortable season in mid-table. I think what we've seen today is that we're probably going to be nowhere near good enough for the playoffs, and also not bad enough for relegation. Yes, we had a really promising, entertaining game on the first day of the season, and an absolute thrashing against Crystal Palace, who are now top of the league. They're going to win promotion, and Owen Jack will be in the Premier League. Hopefully that'll get us another few million from the sell-on. But we're a decent side, we're just an average championship team, and given the money we're spending and the stadium we're saving for, that's absolutely brilliant. Let's look at this achievement in full. If we go to the detailed team stats and see the salary per annum, one of my favourite stats on here, we're now all the way down to 24th. Charlton stayed up and finished in mid-table last year, so they went and invested some more money. Even Northampton, who have come up, have got more money being spent than us. We're spending $1 million less a year than any other team, and out of those bottom 5 5 clubs, we're the only ones who made a transfer profit this year. So there's plenty of signs to suggest that we should be right at the bottom, but the side we've got are young, hungry and really determined, and more importantly, as we go through the season, they continue to improve with age. Another stat that struck my eye there, the lowest attendance in the league, 6,200 for us, and we're selling out the ground. It's not like the Colchester and Northampton ones where they're not even selling out to capacity. So when we get that new stadium, that will put us in around here in that 6th, 7th or 8th, competing with sides that you start to recognise as championship teams. So that's what we're aiming for. We're a year and a half away from that. Let's just go and check that everything's on schedule there. It is scheduled to be completed in summer 2027. Which means in season 10 we should be able to attack promotion for the Premier League. The facilities have continued to improve. We're really delighted with that. The only thing we're struggling with at the moment is still not having an under 23 side. I've done a little bit of research into it. Lots of people have suggested in FM19 that as soon as you get to the Premier League you get one. It just means we can't develop as many players at the club in the meantime while we wait for that. Let's just go and check if there are any other options. I really don't think there are, but if you do know how to get an under 23 side, then do let me know. It may be that there's another way and I'm just unaware. But let's go and look at the schedule to see when we'll next be back. Although this episode ends in defeat, I'm quite happy with where we stand, and as a result we can leave it a little while and come back for another big 6-pointer. So we could get a massive side in the 3rd round of the FA Cup, though the chances of that are slim. And then we've got 2 massive games just after that in January. Northampton at home and Leeds away. If we look at the table at the moment, Northampton 21st, Leeds 23rd. One of them could obviously get cut adrift in the meantime, but they could be 2 massive games as we look to secure survival. I'd hope to still have that 9-point gap when we get there, or at least a gap of some form, and if we can extend it with wins against those, I'll certainly be a lot happier. So that'll be the next episode around that time, either an FA Cup tie depending on who we get, or one of those Northampton or Leeds games. Again, I keep saying we'll try and do a double header at some point, but there's plenty of things to talk about, or one of the games just isn't worth showing in the end. We're trying to motor through a few of these seasons, particularly this one and the next, with just 6 or 7 episodes, mainly because we haven't got much to show. We're still selling players, we're going to be a mid-table club. Obviously if we get close to either end of the table we'll start to show a bit more, but I want to try and get these 2 seasons out of the way comfortably before we move into our new stadium, which we'll want to show off and push for Premier League promotion. Once we get to the Premier League, every game will be a big game and we'll want to show as many as possible. So if we can get to the Premier League in terms of this series by perhaps the end of May at the latest, that means we'll have 3 or 4 months to really enjoy the Premier League and to make sure we get to the top and start winning some trophies. That'll take a few seasons as well, but we'd like to give ourselves time rather than trying to rush it. I like to run the club realistically and nothing will stop me doing that. If we need to later in the year, we can increase to 4 episodes a week, but at the moment, unfortunately with work restrictions, it's just not possible. But that will be all for this episode. If you did enjoy it, please put a thumbs up on the video as always. Let me know what you think of the side. Where do you think we need to strengthen in January? Obviously it's clear we have weaknesses when there's a few injuries, particularly up front and at right wing back, but I really want to give those youngsters football, so as long as we're in this sort of position in the league and comfortably ahead of the bottom 3, I'll keep risking them and playing them. That's the best way they'll learn. In terms of other positions in the squad, I know there's 1 or 2 we probably could improve, but I'm interested to know your thoughts on where you think we're weakest and see if it matches my opinion. Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content from my 2 long-term stories, this one with Torquay United and in our other series The Head Coach, The Journeyman Save. We've mentioned some of the players already today that happen to crop up for Huddersfield that we've either managed before or are currently managing in that series. We're having lots of fun in that one, so if you haven't seen it yet then pop over and check it out. Lots of club changes, completely different to this one, and hopefully you'll enjoy it just as much. But a massive thanks for watching as always, and your continued support with the series. I really do appreciate it, and we'll see you next time for another big bottom of the table clash.